Welcome to the PropTech podcast. It's Kylie Davis here, and I'm delighted to be your host as we explore the brave new world where technology and real estate collide. I passionately believe we need to create and grow a sense of community between the innovators and real estate agents, and sharing our stories is a great way to do that. Now, the aim of each episode is to introduce listeners to a PropTech innovator who is pushing the boundaries of what's possible and explore the issues and challenges raised by the tech and how they can create amazing property experiences. And my guest in this episode is Anycie Barakat from Archistar, a big data and AI platform that is a game changer for property development, design, and even planning. Now, Anycie has a master's in architecture and is the lead computational designer at Archistar, a business that was founded by her brother, Dr. Ben Coorey. And in this interview, we talk about the extraordinary power of generative design, how it's being turbocharged by aggregated data sets across council planning laws and extended property data sets, and the extraordinarily exciting opportunities that it's opening up, not only on how to save significant costs in developing property, but coming up with better design outcomes that are more efficient, more creative, and better for us to live and work in. So, Anycie Barakat, welcome to the PropTech podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the show. I've been trying to get you or your brother on for a while, and I'm so excited about Archistar. So, tell us, what is the Archistar elevator pitch?
Okay, so at Archistar, we've developed a web-based subscription platform that helps anyone work out what you should buy anywhere in Australia. So pretty much we run with finding feasible development sites quickly, understanding sites in detail. We have automated planning rules gathered from relevant planning sources nationwide. And then we use these rules to generate compliant building designs tailored to each site.
Awesome. So, you make it sound really, really simple, but this is an extraordinarily sophisticated piece of technology.
It is. It definitely is. So it's been about 5 years in the making, and currently we have about 60 people working on it day to day. About 80,000 man hours of people trying to gather all our rules nationwide, keep them up to date, and so on. So it's a big job. It's a big job.
And so just to give the listeners a bit of there's an amazing video or demo of it, so we'll share that in the show notes. But to give everyone a bit of an idea, you can basically look up any address either by address or on a map, and you can then identify whether the existing building is built to its full capacity or potential under the building guidelines for it. And you can identify if it's for sale or not. And you can then, regardless, you can then play with that block and see what you could build on it and do that in real time, right?
Definitely. Yep. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah. And then on top of that, so let's go into a little bit more of a deep dive. So then on top of that, there's also the ability to see shadowing and
yeah. So for every building design that we generate, and it ranges from 10 to hundreds to even thousands, depending on how big your site is and what rules that you input. But for each one of those designs, we deep dive into analytics. So we have automated analytics systems, and pretty much they tell you if you comply or not. So this is in terms of overshadowing, sunlight, ventilation, privacy spacing. We even have a crack at car parking and so on. So yeah, so we do have quite a bit.
So what's the problem that it's solving? Why do we need a product like Archistar?
Yeah, so pretty much what it does, what we try to kind of get across is we really try to speed up that pre-DA design process. So what we do is, we're saving you hours, days, or even weeks in that initial design process by bringing all the issues that you would find later in the design process right to the beginning. So within a few minutes, you can see, okay, firstly, what can I build on this site? Or actually, firstly, even before that, what site is good for me? Mm-hmm. Secondly, what can I build on this site? Thirdly, is this feasible? So we allow you to generate designs, see if they're compliant. Can you build a compliant design on this site? And if you can, is it worth my time? Am I going to make enough money out of this? What's going to happen if I go ahead with this process? So and you can do all that in 10 minutes. So you're saving, not just one person, maybe even a team of people, weeks, or maybe even a month in terms of time So yeah, you're kind of getting this process, understanding where you're going to be going right at the beginning, rather than waiting for a month or a few weeks at least to get to that point.
It's almost like being able to try on a site, isn't it? Like, like an outfit. You can work out, is it for you, and is it going to, give you the result that you want, or...
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
really exciting. Yeah, and it's fast. It's good.
Yeah, it is. So what can it do right now? So what are the things that it's doing for its clients right now?
Yeah. So at Archistar, what we've done is we've spent, like I said before, over 80,000 man hours gathering all local and state regulations into our platform. So it's kind of a one-stop shop in terms of planning data. And so because we have that, what it is based around a mapping system. And with that data, we're able to use it in kind of new and novel ways. So we're able to show you on the map, you're able to filter, find, and assess which development site is right for you. So we can tell you, which site is used for apartments, on which site is used for mixed use, all this kind of stuff, which ones are above a certain, planning rule, FSR, all that kind of stuff, all the kind of information you need to make a decision on design. And then once you actually select a site, we give you, extra add-ons. We partner with a few, big companies that really help us in terms of finding the correct site for you, like Domain, CoreLogic, BCI. All that data we've all incorporated into our system. So when you're trying to find a site, you want to see if it's for sale, you can check it on our system. You want to see, what development has been around it, you can check it in our system. So all this kind of stuff is there for you to see what's going on in that area, what's the best site for you. And then once you're on that site, you say, okay, well, what can I build on it? And because we have all that data incorporated into our system, it's easy for us to say, okay, well, we can generate designs using this data. So we know what your front and your side setback should be. We know what your maximum building height is, the maximum floor space ratios, all that kind of stuff you need to know to actually generate a design. And we give you a quick massing and the internals as well, just to see, because we can really, to see, like how many apartments you can do, how much retail can you fit in the space, car parking, all that kind of stuff to go. And that ranges across housing, townhouses, duplexes, manor housing, terrace, and even all the way up to apartments, commercial, mixed use, and hotels, which is our latest, which has been pretty
Awesome.
cool. Yeah,
Cool.
something different. Even further, we have feasibility. So you can kind of see, okay, is it feasible or not, in-depth cost estimation and that sort of thing.
And you can push the envelope too, can't you? So you can say, well, look, I know the planning rules only allow for 20 stories, but I want to go up to 25. You can start to test that out, can't you?
Definitely. So because we have the rules, we actually, if we have the rules for one site, we show you all of them and we pre-fill in everything. However, you can change it. So it's not static at all. It's completely customizable. If you know, for example, that a new set of rules is coming and they're going to be 80 meters tall instead of 20, you can type in 80 meters and keep going from there.
Okay, awesome. So who are your major clients? I'm assuming they're developers, but are they big building companies or?
Yep, actually range quite a bit around the market. So you're right, we do have a lot of property developers, small and large scale. So your mums and dads all the way up to, your, who do we have? Heaps of people, like your Woods Baggots, Oricon, Fraser's Property, all that kind of like larger scale places. However, we do also meddle with real estate agents, local council, even government bodies like New South Wales Transport, New South Wales Customer Service, Property New South Wales, and just a few, like City of Melbourne. We're kind of all around Australia right now, and also moving into the US and the UK soon. So that's on our roadmap coming up.
Wow. Okay. So for councils, what's the value for councils in having a system like Archistar?
Yeah. So generally with councils, what we find is the main part they like is the idea of compliance.
Well, I guess it shows them and they haven't had to do the work. It's all being done for them.
So we're working exactly. So we're working with a lot of councils right now to kind of get that DA process and the pre-DA process really streamlined. So if people are able to submit their DAs or the pre-DAs into our system, we can analyze that automatically and they can submit that directly to a council. And that process is really streamlined. And we're kind of working with that now, working with a few government spaces. But in the meantime, so that's kind of like a work in progress. But in the meantime, they're currently using it to find and assess sites mainly. So, sites that are good for them. We find that they have a lot of excess sites around, like train stations and kind of like the main roadway areas, and they
Yep.
kind of want to see, okay, what can I do with this? How can I use it most wisely?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So the use case for developers kind of completely makes sense because you're working out should you buy it and what can you put on it. But I guess from a council point of view, the end outcome is that this could really radically speed up safely DA processes or approval processes because they are notoriously slow in some areas, aren't they?
For
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, definitely. So definitely about the idea of, are you compliant with sunlight? Are you compliant with ventilation? And actually having specific percentages calculated on the fly, that really helps as well. So yeah, it should definitely speed up that entire process quite a bit.
And so do you think that is that going to impact on the cost of some of these buildings, do you think?
Yeah, I think it definitely is going to reduce costs.
Reduce costs, not necessarily reduce the price, but
yes, exactly.
reduce maybe the cost.
So like some admin costs, I guess,
Yeah.
in the staff, but it's good. So yeah, so I think it definitely will reduce, I guess, overall project costs in terms of, you don't want to make a mistake where, you have to chop and change build apartments out and 3/4 of the way down the design process, you're like, crap, it's not, it's not feasible. It's not compliant either. So it really is important to get that information right at the beginning. And having that, it really is saving time and a lot of money.
Awesome. So how are real estate agents using it? I'm kind of curious to.
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of real estate agents using our platform. It's surprising. Well, it's not surprising, but
I know they're smart.
it is exciting to see like so many. We have like Harcourts and a lot of big agents using it. So, what they generally do, in a few different ways they use it. So some of them are interested in development themselves. So, they're seeing a lot of sites. They kind of want to see what's happening. But a lot of agents want that extra knowledge to be able to comment on a vendor's home development potential.
Right.
And yeah, so they find a lot of value in our tool because of that. But a lot of people also like just having all the information in one platform. So we have a few reports that we generate. And, one we call a due diligence report, triple D. And that really kind of does a whole breakdown of what you can develop on a site. It's about 30 pages. But our agents also love our one-pager information report. And what that is just tells you everything kind of about that site, what you can build on it, what's the potential, a quick feasibility on it, and all the information, like planning information they need as well. So when they're going out, when they're trying to sell, they have that information on hand. And that's just a quick one-click button to get that, which is really cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, so in that also, I nearly forgot to mention, they have we have a lot of integration partners that we use. So Domain, CoreLogic, Pricefinder, BCI, Cordell, and even Nearmap, so high resolution imagery. And they love all that kind of stuff. So
awesome.
it really helps them sell.
Okay, fantastic. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I have my background's in architecture.
As most of your families is it?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. So there's 4 of us in the family, 3 of us that work together, which is good. But yeah, my background's in architecture, and I did a master's at UTS, so in Sydney. My brother Ben, Dr. Ben actually, he started this whole thing, whole of Archistar, and he was a university lecturer at Archistar. And yeah, he's also in architecture, also in generative design. So we're kind of definitely in the same field, which is cool. And he started this whole process off really. So what he did was we actually started off as a learning platform. So our original, and it's still going today, still going quite well, is Archistar Academy. And we're an e-learning platform, and you can kind of learn all courses relevant to generative design. And it ranges from, architecture to interior design, all the way to engineering and rendering processes. So we have it's quite big. So I joined up at that point about 5 years ago, and we started, generating courses. So a few of us have been generating courses, outsourcing courses, that sort of thing, and they're being used in universities all around Australia. currently and internationally, which is great. But from there, Ben at the time was actually studying his PhD, and that was in generative design. And from there, this is where we grabbed our other brother, and he came in. Yeah, and he came in, and so at the time we were kind of doing using those tools, so using computational design tools to speed up that design process back then.
Yep.
So we were using Revit plugins that we created ourselves, Rhino plugins, and speeding up that quick feasibility process. And we, at the time, we were said, okay, let's just get, a few customers at a time. Clients came to us and said, what can I build on our site? And we had a thing going back then saying, oh, we'll get this back to you in 24 hours. And we used to do it all kind of manually and use our tools. We thought we were really fast at doing it.
Well, you probably were.
Probably were at the time, yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah, so it was a bit hard. It was good in terms of accuracy, but at the same time, we were just starting out. So it was a bit tricky to kind of get it all underway and keep up with the pressure of the time limits and that sort of thing. So our third brother came in and he said, okay.
And what's his name? Sorry.
He's Rob.
Rob, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob.
So he come in and he's like, okay, you know what? We need to commercialize this. You can't do it manually all the time. We need to, get more people in and build something out of this. And that was the beginning of Archistar, what you see today. And it's just grown and grown. And now we're up to, I think, about 60 people.
Awesome. So Ben, Anycie and Rob as the family getting behind it as a concept.
Yes.
Fantastic.
We have one more brother, but he's in finance.
He's in finance. He's the black sheep of the family.
Black sheep, yeah. Yeah, there's 4 of us.
Awesome. And now let's hear a word from our sponsors. For almost 16 years, Direct Connect has made moving easy for over 1.2 million renters and homeowners by arranging connections to a wide range of services, from electricity and gas to internet and pay TV. With a national team of local account managers who are experts in the industry, Direct Connect are there to support your real estate business with competitive rewards for every successful connection, plus an industry-leading rewards program. The connection process is simple, and Direct Connect's always-on guarantee ensures your customers will be connected on the day they move in. Direct Connect offers a range of market-leading suppliers, and Direct Connect has now made it even easier than ever to send connections directly integrating with MRI Software's Property Tree. So in just a few clicks while processing a tenancy, you can send the connection details through and get your customers connected. To make the right connection and find out how Direct Connect can make moving easy for you and easy for your customers, visit agents.directconnect.com.au or call 1300 558 169. So let's talk a little bit about generative designs, because I guess one of the criticisms that I can imagine you would get leveled at you is that, this creates kind of cookie cutter designs or it makes things really homogenous. Do you think, is that true?
I don't think so. Generally, I do agree in terms of that a lot of the government regulations do, the output of it is a lot of cookie cutter designs. I think that's really where we try and make things a bit different here. So we take in those government regulations, but what we do is we generate hundreds of designs from these. So firstly, we kind of take in the site and we see, okay, what's around it? What are your rules? And then we generate designs that are customizable to that site. So they take in, each kind of, angles, all the slopes, all the kind of setbacks and all the things you need. And we generate from there. But also we don't just leave it there. So when we generate designs, our customers can choose out of the hundreds that we have, but then they can also edit them. So they're fully customizable. They can select on a building, they can change it, move it around. And we generally just kind of just tell them if it's compliant or not. So we're not really giving them the final. We never say we're giving them a final building, but we generally give them that big first step into what can fit on that site.
Yeah, which is a big one. When we were talking before, you mentioned that by having transparency around all of the compliance codes, that actually makes it easier to start to test them and to and get more creative with them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think it really allows our customers to push the boundaries, with quick feedback. So, you say, okay, what happens if I drag, level 3 to 8 in by 5 meters or out by 5 meters? What if I cantilever it out? And then you can see immediately what that result is. So all our analytics will update. You'll see if you're overshadowing the guy next door or whatever you're doing. All that stuff is immediate, which is awesome. So it really does allow for that quick flexibility. And we generally say, all our stuff can be exported out of the system or imported in. So, if you have your own custom designs, you can bring that in. We can test that for you and have a look around for you. It really is all about a quick design process.
Yeah. And I guess when we talk about a quick design process, I mean, my background's in local newspapers. So, the whole NIMBY thing and panic and terror around, development proposals because they would mean something terrible for the local community. But do you believe that one of the reasons we have so much cookie cutter building going on at the moment is because of a conservatism around what the design is allowed or what the regulations allow?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I know, for example, when you look at these design guides, you see like a lot of buildings literally replicated from what's like, from the images in those guidelines. And you think, well, where's the creativity in it? And I think a lot of people really just want to kind of speed up that design process. They say, okay, if I submit this, they'll probably accept that DA faster.
It won't take 9 months to approve.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about that kind of approval process. So, if we can speed up that design process from, say, whatever it is, 6 months to, 6 weeks even or less, what that can really help. And I think, if people have that safety of having that pre-DA checklist, I'm, compliant with my sunlight, compliant with my privacy, my ventilation, all that kind of things. Like if they have that information ahead of time, I think they won't be as nervous to submit something a bit more creative.
Yeah. And I'm interested too with the idea that if councils are adopting this, then they will be able to see how other councils are solving design challenges. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So a big aim that we do at Archistar is, I'm just trying to explain how I feel. So I think a lot of what we do is being able to create better designs globally. So, if councils in Australia are picking this up, and generally in the US, in the UK initially, what we get is a lot of data about the different types of building designs that are coming through. And the more data we get, I guess, the more, the better our recommendations for designs on sites will become, because it's an AI system and it can learn according to, what you kind of put in here. So I think the more access to different designs and different compliant designs, I think that will really kind of improve, what designs we offer and also kind of widen that the ideas and the creativity levels for people coming onto our site and people designing buildings these days. So I think it's definitely an exciting process in terms of widening that level of creativity, I think, coming in. Yeah.
And then also if you've got sort of design challenges in your suburb, you being able to see what's happening in the UK with similar sites and be able to see how they're doing it and start to really get some creative responses going to that.
So some of the data layers that we have in our system are 3D buildings, and we do, we're partnered with a lot of integration partners that have a lot of rich data in all these countries. So for example, if I wanted to filter sites out for sites, under 500 meters squared or under 600 meters squared, and they want to put an apartment block on there. So it's tricky. It's tricky. Like, so a lot of people do that though. So they come and they say, how do I do this? And we say, okay, let's try it out and go in. But you can do the exact same thing in the UK or the US or anywhere in the world. You can draw up whatever site you want and kind of go and do that. So it's really cool. And I think being able to see all the development information around your site. So, development applications in your area, what's in construction, what got approved, what didn't get approved. All that information, I think it really helps. And I think it gives you a lot more confidence in when you're submitting your DA, seeing what's around you. You say, well, you approved it for that guy over there right next door to me. And he popped up through the building envelope. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It gives it's kind of a pre-approval process, I guess.
Is this going to make it easier or faster for us for buildings to become sort of smart and green?
Definitely, yeah, for sure. So in the future, what we're kind of looking towards is a lot of modular design. So, prefab, modular buildings, that sort of thing. And a lot of those buildings, they can be pre-approved with, Green Star processes, all that kind of stuff. So I think the more we're able to get build into our system more sustainable designs, the easier it will be and the better living, I guess, the better designs will be outputting for people to, take on.
Awesome. What's the pricing? Like, how do you charge, Anycie? How does that work generally?
Yeah. So currently we're at $295 a month upwards. So minimum $295. And it all depends on what data sets, design generators and analytics that you want us to incorporate into your mapping system. So that's generally for month to month. For if you sign up for 12-month subscription, we generally reduce it by 10 to 15%, which a lot of people do take on, which is good.
Yeah. And are there any competitors in this space? Is there anyone else doing?
Yes, there are. So generally they kind of, tackle the architectural generators alone, but none of them actually link to planning regulations on a map. So we have people and companies like SpaceMaker, TestFit, MatterLab, Creo. They're kind of the big ones, and they're all awesome. They produce really cool stuff, but generally they don't touch government regulations. So we've spent that time and got that whole database of planning rules, and we generate directly off those. So.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. As a real estate agent, you know you need to be doing more content marketing. But creating posts for social media, creating videos and reports is hard work, lots of hard work, and it takes time. So that's why you need HomePrezo. If you're a typical agent posting 1 or 2 social media posts a week, HomePrezo can save you between 75 to 100 hours a year. How many more properties could you sell if you had that time back? HomePrezo can help you create engaging, informative videos about how the property market in your local suburb is performing. Plus, it makes creating suburb reports, rental videos for landlords, and social media infographics an absolute piece of cake. If you can type in a suburb or type an address, you can create a Prezo using HomePrezo in just a few minutes. Listeners to the PropTech podcast receive a 14-day free trial. Now that's twice as long as the normal free trial. So go to homeprezo.com.au and click the sign up button and use the code PropTech to get your extended free trial, or click the link in our show notes. You guys recently got some funding coming through. What's your roadmap look like? Like what's your development roadmap look like, and how big can this puppy go?
Yeah, it's big. It's going to be big.
And when are you listing on the stock exchange so we can all invest?
It's exciting. So on our roadmap, like I said before, we're looking at editing designs. So, the more you're able to edit and customize your designs, the better, we feel. So currently, from now to the end of the year, we're looking really hard at, having your own custom designs on our site, downloading it, changing it, putting it on there, or editing it within our own system in the first place. So that's kind of like a big thing this year. We're going to be doing a lot more integrations with plugins like Grasshopper, Revit, things like SketchUp, AutoCAD, whatever people are using. We'll be getting those into our system and, being able to go back and forth. And in terms of where we're going with this, like I said before, we're really interested in kind of precast fabrication, building materials, robotics, so speeding up that design process. What's the best way to do this? How quick can we do it? And with that, we kind of become a one-stop shop for many housing designs. So building materials, costs and construction, time estimations, all that sort of thing, all kind of inbuilt in this one platform. And in terms of the stock exchange, we still, like I said, we have so much to achieve. So right now we have a lot of investors lining up to fund this roadmap. And our goal and vision is to kind of take this, what we call human plus AI. Our goal is to take it globally. And right now we don't really need to list at the moment, but I won't say never. So we never know. Yeah, we never know.
Awesome. So So over the next 5 years in this, like, I mean, you're bringing together the best in sort of AI and transparency and big data and all these things together. But what do you see are the trends that are going to drive your growth further?
Definitely fabrication, so
Yeah.
precast, that sort of thing. I guess I guess what we really like to see is getting a lot of that information at early stages of the design process. So
Mm-hmm.
the way we operate is we're very geometrically based. So when we generate designs, we know exactly, how much of the facade is there. We know how many apartments are there, how much retail space you have. We can collect all that information and provide that to you on a silver platter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's so great about that is that, you know, once you get to that point and once you have that definitive data in your hands, you can kind of go anywhere with it. So, you can say, okay, well, I have a warehouse of this size. How much steel will I need to create the structure of this? Or, I have
Mm-hmm.
a house, a 2-story house with a garage here. What's my construction cost? What's the estimate for that? How much building material will I need? What's the flooring space? All that kind of stuff, right? Like we can hand that to you straight away, so which
Mm.
is really cool. So I think that is what we see will drive this next property industry, that kind of definitive data, all about, you know, kind of numbers, I guess,
Yeah.
numbers, and also the speed at which we can build faster, better, more sustainable designs.
I'd be fascinated to see how much cost you're able to sort of cut out of the building process in the reduction in sort of that time to plan and conceive and assess sites, but then also just the cost that you'd be able to pull out of a building through lack of wastage because you'd be able to estimate much more accurately. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. So
Yeah.
like it's a big difference, a few pallets of tiles here,
It adds up pretty quick.
it adds up really quick. So having those numbers, and especially we have a whole section of our business on called Archistar homes.
Yep.
And that's really cool because it does exactly what I've said just then. So we have, pre-built home designs from a lot of big home building companies like Rawson. Who else do we have? We have a whole bunch of people coming in, Fraser's Property, a whole bunch of people that they say, okay, well, here's a pre-built design. What can fit on your site? And they have these designs already. They have all their construction costs, estimation costs already in the bag for those sort of things. So for us, we can kind of fit whatever you're doing on a site, check if it's in a planning envelope, and then I guess you can almost, add to cart in terms of those things. So, you can shop around, we can give you a whole bunch of different competitors and what's the best pricing, what's, this, that. So I think having that it's going to be really interesting for the future of these sort of spaces.
So it's even going to change the knockdown rebuild or domestic individual resident market.
Yep, definitely.
Awesome. Look, Anycie, it has been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so very much for your time. And it's been great to hear about Archistar. I'm so excited about it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Kylie.
So that was Anycie Barakat from Archistar. It's one of the most exciting PropTech businesses in the country. Ever since I saw a demo of Archistar about a year ago, when it was only about a quarter as powerful as it is right now, I've been really excited about this business. Archistar really is the perfect storm of big data that is being intelligently analysed and visualised, and its power to radically change our built environment. And even in that description, I don't feel like I'm doing it proper justice. So I'm going to include in the show notes a link to the Archistar website. Do check out the videos on what it can do. In being able to assess sites quickly, iterate design ideas, and demonstrate compliance, Archistar is freeing up an extraordinary amount of time. It's removing risks and saving a huge amount of costs around development. And as real estate agents, it's allowing us to demonstrate extraordinary value. Now, what I love about Archistar is that in its ability to quickly show us what's possible using current rules, it encourages us to be curious about what else or what could come next. And what kind of world do we want to build? Archistar is offering the best of AI and human creativity to help us realise those dreams. So now, if you have enjoyed this episode of the PropTech Podcast, I'd love you to tell your friends or drop me a line either via email, kylie@realcontent.guru, LinkedIn, or on our Facebook page. You can follow this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Apple iTunes. I'd like to thank my audio support, Charlie Hollins, and the fabulous Jill Escudero, and our sponsors, Smidge Wines, official wines of the PropTech community, because everyone deserves a smidge, and Home Prezzo, now part of ActivePipe, making email marketing amazing, and of course, Direct Connect, making moving easy. Thank you, everyone. Until next week, stay safe and keep on PropTeching.